What's up, y'all? It's Sportskid here with my 2023 Vanderbilt Commodores season predictions. Let's get into it. Last year, Vanderbilt had a very good year for Vandy. They went 5-7. They almost made it to a bowl game, and they won 2 conference games. Just absolutely fabulous. This year, their win total over under the line is currently at 3.5. So between 3 and 4 wins is what odds makers are projecting. A lot of players do return to start this season, 7 on offense and 8 on defense. Sadly, no Commodores were drafted in this past NFL draft. The recruiting class does not have much to talk about. Overall, they ranked in at 69th. Nice. The transfer rank was 87th. I believe also the worst recruiting class in the conference. Yikes. 22 commits. They're going to be true freshmen on this team. All of them are 3 stars. The top player they brought in was Martell Height. He is from Rome, Georgia, plays cornerback, and is a top 50 cornerback in the country. And then we also have Cedric Alexander, a running back, a top 50 running back in the country from Austin. And shockingly enough, I believe he's going to be the starter as a true freshman. Now that is because their starter from last year transferred to Kentucky. I want to say his name was Ray. Ray Davis, yeah. So Cedric Alexander should be starting as a true freshman and a 3-star. He's pretty small too, 5'8", 190. We'll have to see how that goes. Transfer portal, they didn't really do much. They brought in a kicker, 2-star kicker from Kansas. Then they also brought in these 2 3-star linebackers. Prince Cole, probably butchered that, from Notre Dame. And I'm not even going to try to say that guy's name. Linebacker from Stanford. I believe the linebacker from Stanford is going to be a starter at defensive end. Don't quote me on that, though. Personal ratings for Vandy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So, this is a scale from 1 to 10. How I feel about the team they put together on either side of the ball. I'm going to give the offense a 4 out of 10. It's going to suck. The offensive line does have a lot of career starts with each other. Was it 81? It's not really a lot. There are teams with like 130. But 81, you have a solid O-line room. And then their receivers aren't the worst. They do have some good, maybe not great, but some good players there. The defense, though, the defense sucks. Let's be honest. If you're a Vandy fan, you know the defense sucks. I'm giving them a 3 out of 10. All around, nothing great. Here is the schedule. Of course, Vanderbilt plays in the SEC, so they do have a very difficult schedule. I'm giving it a B+, not necessarily an A, really close to an A. But they did schedule some sort of crummy out-of-conference games. And they play in the SEC East, also an easier division. Start out the season against Hawaii. I will be watching this game. Somehow, I'll probably end up watching a lot of these games. Last year, Vandy absolutely dominated Hawaii, 63-10 in Honolulu. I think they should definitely get a win against the Rainbow Warriors again this year. Really excited to watch that one in the season opener. There should be people there. Might not be packed, but there should be people there. Next up is Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M is an FCS team, literally the league below Vanderbilt. Not even competition. Vanderbilt should get a big win against the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. Next up, Vandy does have Wake Forest. Wake Forest is an ACC team. and they have to go on the road to face the Demon Deacons. Last year, this is another home and home series like the Hawaii series. Last year, when Vanderbilt was in Nashville, they won 45-25. So, yeah, I'm not really feeling it. They have a chance. Vanderbilt has a chance, but I don't think it's going to happen in this game. And I think they take their first L of the season in North Carolina. Next up, Vanderbilt. I assume this is a home and home. They head west to Nevada, where they will face UNLV. I think it's a home and home. It would be a really strange one-off game. They should win this game, honestly. UNLV sucks. Yeah, at least in comparison. Even with the terrible offense and defense of Vanderbilt, they still should get a win here. I could see it being a little bit closer. UNLV, probably middle of the pack. Mountain West team. That's their conference. But overall, I think Vandy should get a win and have a good time in Vegas. Next up, we start SEC play against one of the two teams that Vanderbilt beat last year. Kentucky. Oh boy, it's a home game for Vanderbilt. I'll say it's a toss-up. On paper, I think Kentucky wins. But Vandy did win last year, even though Kentucky had their star quarterback. I think Vandy has a chance, at least. Now, they will have to face their running back they lost this past transfer portal window in Ray Davis. He will be making a return to Nashville. On paper, I think Kentucky gets the win, but I think Vanderbilt will give them a run for their money, at least, and potentially they do take home a win in their first SEC game. Missouri is the next team on this schedule. They also travel to Nashville to play this game. I think Vanderbilt does have a chance against Mizzou. Mizzou is probably going to finish maybe last, maybe second to last in conference, at least in the SEC East. They aren't great. They do go on the road. Mizzou did beat Vandy last year. It was only a 3-point game, though, and Mizzou was favored by 14. I think Vandy could at least give them a run for the money like they do with Kentucky. At least. This is probably the easiest SEC game on the schedule, so if they're going to win one, they should beat Mizzou. Next is Florida. This is a road game heading south to Gainesville. Honestly, right off the bat, I don't think they're going to win. Very difficult to play in Gainesville. They did win it last year at home. They did beat Anthony Richardson. Crazy game. No, that was their second SEC win of the year. I don't think they're going to be able to pull off back-to-backs over Florida. They're just a better team. Even though I don't think Florida's going to be very good, they're still a better team than this Vanderbilt Commodores squad. Oh boy. Next up on the schedule, back-to-back national champions, the Georgia Bulldogs. I'll just say it, it's going to be a big loss, probably a 63-0 sort of game. Was that the score last year? No, last year was only 55-0. Yeah, should just be a solid blowout. Next, we have Ole Miss. This is a road game. Now, if you're a Vanderbilt fan and you are still here, or an Ole Miss fan, is this a real rivalry? I know that this is the Vanderbilt and Ole Miss conference game that they have to schedule every year. Conference rivals. I don't know really what you call it. Guaranteed game from the opposite division. I know this is that game for both teams every year. I don't think it's much of a rivalry, at least in terms of competitiveness. Let me know. Is this a real rivalry? Is there hatred? I don't know. Ole Miss, though. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, and it's on the road in Oxford. I think really Ole Miss should get a solid win in that 8th, 9th game. Yeah, in that 9th game of the season. Next we have Auburn. I think Auburn might be a little underrated. They could be rated about how they should be, but that new head coach makes me a little nervous. Mr. Hugh Freeze. He's a real good coach. He's a real good coach. Maybe they could get to 8 wins. I don't know. Probably not talked about enough. Vandy, I think if they're going to win another conference game, this will be their last chance against Auburn. But really, on paper, I don't quite see it happening, and I think they take another loss in this week. Finally, down to the last 2 games of the season, South Carolina and Tennessee. These 2 teams are going to be pretty good, at least go to a bowl game, unlike Vanderbilt. South Carolina should be, maybe it'll be close, I don't know. I do think South Carolina should win. And then in this rivalry, I know it's a rivalry, Tennessee and Vandy, I think Vanderbilt is not going to fare so well and take a pretty big loss to their rivals. So, it's an SEC schedule, I'll say that. Vanderbilt, seriously not a fantastic team at all. But I do think they can win conference games. A couple, maybe. My record prediction is 4-8. 4-8 for Vanderbilt. I think they get wins over Hawaii, Alabama A&M, and UNLV. And then they win against Kentucky or Missouri. They could take both of them for 5 wins, but I think they only win one of those, and it would be a long shot to win one of these games in the close loss category. At Wake, at Florida, Auburn, at South Carolina. That end of season run from Florida to Tennessee, they play at Florida, Georgia, at Ole Miss, Auburn, at South Carolina, at Tennessee. That is a rough stretch, and I'm not sure if they're going to win any games once they hit that point in the season where they play Florida. I'm a Vanderbilt fan, you could say. I'll always root for Vandy, no matter who they're playing, pretty much. But I don't think they go to a bowl game. I think they'll hit 3 wins. They definitely should. Honestly, on paper, they're really terrible. Just being honest. Although I do have hope, and I really do hope that they will play well this year and win a couple games. If you've made it this far into the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all the normal things other people ask you to do. Do it for me, please. Spend a lot of time and effort making these videos. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, peace.